I will defend her. A janitor single dad saved a billionaire after her lawyer abandoned her. The rain poured relentlessly over the city as Daniel Carter pushed his janitor's cart through the marble hallway of Harrison Financial Tower. At 38, life had taught him that dignity wasn't measured by the title on a business card. Every night, after dropping his 8-year-old daughter Lily at his sister's apartment, he cleaned offices occupied by executives who rarely noticed his existence. Daniel had once dreamed of becoming a lawyer. He had graduated at the top of his law school class, but life had other plans. When his wife passed away after a sudden illness, medical bills consumed everything he owned. Unable to afford childcare while pursuing a legal career, he accepted janitorial work simply to survive and raise Lily. Every evening he carried a worn leather briefcase alongside his mop bucket. Hidden inside were old law books, highlighted statutes, and notebooks filled with legal research. While others spent breaks scrolling through phones, Daniel studied court decisions, refusing to let his dream completely die. One stormy evening, the building buzzed with unusual tension. Employees whispered nervously, "The CEO is finished. Her own attorney just quit. The board meeting starts in 20 minutes. Daniel paused. The CEO was Victoria Harrington, one of the country's youngest self-made billionaires. Brilliant but demanding, she had transformed her father's failing investment company into a global empire. Now she faced accusations of securities fraud after several executives manipulated company records without her knowledge. The case threatened everything. Outside the executive conference room, expensive lawyers hurried away. "I can't represent you anymore," one attorney said coldly. Victoria stared at him in disbelief. "You've been on this case for 6 months. My reputation comes first." He walked away. One by one, the legal team disappeared. No one wanted to stand beside a woman everyone believed was about to lose. Daniel quietly continued mopping the hallway. Then he heard something that stopped him. Victoria whispered to herself, "They're abandoning me before I've even had a chance to prove the truth." There was no arrogance in her voice. Only exhaustion. Daniel took a slow breath. He parked his cleaning cart. Then, for the first time in years, he stepped into the executive conference room. Security guards immediately approached. "Sir, employees aren't allowed in here." Daniel looked directly at Victoria. "If no one else will defend her." He stood straighter. "I will." Silence filled the room. Executives burst into laughter. "A janitor. This is unbelievable." Victoria looked confused. "You." Daniel nodded calmly. "I have a law degree." Another executive smirked. "So why are you cleaning floors?" Daniel answered honestly. "Because life doesn't always reward talent immediately." The room became quiet. Victoria studied his face. She saw confidence, not arrogance. She had nothing left to lose. "Everyone else already abandoned me," she said softly. "I'm willing to listen." Daniel opened his old briefcase. Inside were organized legal notes. He requested every document related to the investigation. Several board members rolled their eyes. "This is a waste of time." Daniel ignored them. For the next 6 hours, he read contracts, financial statements, emails, and internal audit reports. Then he noticed something. The fraudulent approvals all carried identical digital timestamps. Impossible. No executive manually signs dozens of approvals within 2 seconds. Someone had cloned Victoria's digital authorization. Daniel smiled slightly. "I think I know what's happening." The forensic IT department confirmed his suspicion. Someone inside the company had duplicated Victoria's encrypted signature using stolen authentication credentials. The fraud wasn't committed by the CEO. It was committed by executives hiding behind her identity. Victoria stared at Daniel. "How did you notice that?" He smiled. "Because details tell the truth." The emergency hearing began the next morning. Media crowded outside the courthouse. News anchors predicted Victoria's downfall. Inside, prosecutors confidently presented their case. The defendant approved every illegal transaction. Daniel stood. Permission to question the digital evidence. The judge agreed. Daniel projected every authorization onto the courtroom screen. Then he enlarged the timestamps. "Ladies and gentlemen," he pointed carefully. "These approvals occurred faster than human reaction time." Jurors leaned forward. Daniel continued. "The prosecution assumes these signatures prove intent. They actually prove automation." The courtroom fell silent. Experts were called. After examining the evidence, cybersecurity specialists reached the same conclusion. The signatures had indeed been forged. The prosecution's strongest evidence suddenly collapsed. But Daniel wasn't finished. He subpoenaed company security footage. The recordings showed senior executive Richard Collins entering restricted server rooms late at night. His access logs had never been investigated. When questioned, Richard appeared calm. Then Daniel revealed one final surprise. Months earlier, Daniel had repaired a leaking pipe near the secure server room. While working, he had noticed technicians leaving maintenance logs unsecured. As a habit, he photographed unusual safety violations to protect himself from liability. One photo accidentally captured Richard removing a hardware encryption device from the server. The courtroom gasped. Richard's face turned pale. Within minutes, investigators recovered deleted files connecting him and 3 accomplices to the entire fraud. Facing overwhelming evidence, Richard confessed. "We thought she'd take the blame." Victoria closed her eyes. Not in defeat. In relief. The judge dismissed every criminal charge against her. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded Daniel. How did a janitor defeat an entire legal team? Daniel smiled gently. "I wasn't just cleaning floors. I never stopped being a lawyer." The interview spread across television and social media. Millions watched. People everywhere admired the quiet man who had refused to let his education, or his integrity, be buried by hardship. A week later, Victoria invited Daniel to her office. The same office he had cleaned hundreds of times. This time, he entered through the front door. Not with a mop. With respect. "I owe you everything," Victoria said. Daniel shook his head. "You owe me nothing. You simply deserved someone who believed in the truth." Victoria smiled. "I disagree." She slid several documents across the desk. "I'd like you to become chief legal counsel of Harrison Financial." Daniel blinked. "I'm offering the position you earned years ago." He hesitated. "I've been away from legal practice." "You never stopped practicing," she replied. "You only practiced when no one was watching." He accepted. That evening, Daniel picked Lily up from school. She noticed her father's smile immediately. Did something good happen? He knelt beside her. "We're going to have a new beginning." Lily hugged him tightly. "I knew you could do anything." Months passed. Daniel transformed Harrison Financial's legal department into one of the country's most respected compliance teams. He introduced transparency programs, anonymous reporting systems, and ethical leadership training. Employees who once ignored the janitor now sought guidance from the company's chief legal counsel. Yet Daniel remained unchanged. Every Friday evening, he personally walked through the building. Sometimes he picked up trash from the hallway. Sometimes he helped janitors move heavy equipment. When new executives questioned why, he simply smiled. "I know exactly how invisible these jobs can feel." Victoria often joined him. She made it company policy that every employee, from interns to custodians, would attend the same appreciation banquet each year. "No one," she declared, "is beneath respect." The culture changed. Productivity improved. Employee loyalty reached record levels. One afternoon, Lily visited the office. She proudly looked around at the elegant headquarters. "Do you own this place now?" Daniel laughed. "No, but I belong here." Victoria overheard. She smiled warmly. "So do you, Lily." Years later, Harrison Financial established the Carter Scholarship for single parents pursuing careers in law. The scholarship paid tuition, childcare expenses, and living costs for students who refused to give up despite impossible circumstances. At the opening ceremony, Daniel stood before hundreds of hopeful students. "I spent years believing my dream had expired," he said. But dreams don't disappear. Sometimes they simply wait until character catches up with opportunity. The audience applauded. Among them sat former janitors, waitresses, warehouse workers, nurses, delivery drivers, and single parents, people who had nearly abandoned their own ambitions. Daniel looked at Lily, now preparing for college. She smiled proudly. "You never gave up, Dad." He smiled back. "No, I just took a different road." As the ceremony ended, Victoria quietly stood beside him. "You saved more than my company." Daniel looked at the crowd. "No, we saved each other. Because sometimes the greatest heroes don't arrive wearing expensive suits or carrying prestigious titles. Sometimes they push a janitor's cart through silent hallways while carrying forgotten dreams inside an old leather briefcase." And when the world turns away from someone who desperately needs justice, courage speaks with simple words that can change countless lives forever. I will defend her. Those 4 words rescued an innocent woman, restored one man's purpose, inspired an entire company, and proved a timeless truth. A person's worth is never defined by the job they do today, but by the integrity they carry every single day, even when no one is watching.